Rike, I want to thank you for doing this. Um, I've known you for a long time. You said you joined the club at what time? When did you join the club? What year was that?
I joined back in 1995.
1995?
Yeah, so this will be my 26th year as a member of the club.
26 years.
hmm
Wow. And what brought you to Japan in the first place? Why'd you come here?
Well, originally, way back in 1980, I was an exchange student.
Okay.
I went to Lewis and Clark College, which is in Portland, Oregon,
Okay.
and then I came over here as part of their exchange program for about 6 months.
6 months?
Yeah, in 1980.
Yeah. And you did some radio work, right? You obviously did some radio work because I could tell from your voice. Wait.
I was yes, I was a disc jockey in college.
You did?
So I was KLC Portland. I was my moniker was Rike at the mic.
Rike at the mic.
Rike at the mic.
Did you pick that?
Actually, my friends picked it for me.
Okay, your friends were good friends, right?
Yes.
That's good, good.
That's
Listen,
right.
so anyway,
Well,
so you came over here in
1980.
1980.
Yeah.
Did you ever go back, or you just decided to
I
stay with
did.
you?
I after I finished my 6 months here with the college,
Okay.
I went back, graduated, and then I came back to work a year abroad.
Okay.
And I spent a year teaching English, was about to leave again,
Right.
and I joined Merrill Lynch. This was in 1984.
Merrill Lynch.
Yeah.
What was that like? You stayed there for what? For
I
a month
was
or two?
I was in Merrill Lynch for a total of 11 years.
11 years.
And when I joined, there were about 70 people
Uh-huh.
in the Tokyo branch.
Right, right.
When I left, there were 650.
Okay.
And I joined, and I was a bookkeeper in the operations department, which is, was the lowest of the positions that they had.
Mm-hmm.
And when I left Japan, I was the director of operations,
Wow.
and that was fun.
Okay.
I went to work in New York for Merrill Lynch for 2 years,
Right.
or to be more precise, Jersey City, New Jersey. And I worked there for 2 years,
Right.
and then there was a problem in a company called Bearing Securities.
Very
There was a guy
interesting.
named Nick Leeson
Right.
who had basically bankrupted the company. And ING took over the company,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and they said, we need to find somebody to rebuild the Japan operations.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a call from a friend of mine who said, would you like to come back to Japan? And this was in 1995,
Mhm.
after the Kobe earthquake, because that's
Right.
what caused the entire problem to come about.
Right.
And so I came back, and I started working for, at the time, Bearing Securities in 1995.
Mm-hmm.
And I was with them until the very end of 2000.
But when you went back to Colorado, where you're from.
I went back to New Jersey.
New Jersey.
I
Wait.
shouldn't say I
Right.
went to New Jersey.
To New Jersey.
I'm from Denver, Colorado.
Denver, Colorado, right?
Yes. And I actually, with Merrill Lynch, I went to work with them there. And at the time, the operations division, which I was a part of, was located in Jersey City, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And Merrill Lynch had operations all around. They had them in New York, they had them in New Jersey, they had a few things in different parts of the country, but the vast majority of them were right there.
Right. And were you married at this time?
No, I was single.
You're still single.
I was single until, when I came back with Bearings,
Right.
I was here, and then I got married when I was 44.
44.
Yes. So I'm a late member of the marriage community.
Right, right, right. Okay. And you told me that you did something with your brother at the same time. When did he come over?
My brother came over in 1988,
Okay.
and he was here basically for, I think, about 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
and he set up a trading company.
Right.
At the time, he was an English teacher down in Kitakyushu.
Mm-hmm.
He met his wife there. He set up a trading company, and I said, well, let's do it together. And so we had set that up, and he has since gone above and beyond and done extremely well with the trading company, and it's
Okay.
still in business in Colorado.
Right. When did he start trading, if you don't mind?
It was originally products that were American products being sold to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
He then later moved into products which were focused on, for example, television products. So he did the Abtronic, he did the Ab Slide, he did the cordless sweeper, the steam penguin, a variety of very, very interesting, important products.
Did he keep the
for that.
licensing fee on any of these? Or
No,
did he
it was not a licensing fee. He was
Okay.
a trader. So basically,
he
what
just-
he did was he
found the product?
actually, I'm going to correct that.
Okay.
He was a purchasing agent.
Okay.
So he would work on behalf of a Japanese company that was looking to buy the product, and he would go out and negotiate everything from shipping to price to everything else.
Right. And then you get it over, then you bring it over. Okay.
That's right.
Wow. But
So-
now at the stage, fast forward after all of these companies you work for, you have your own company.
I do.
Okay.
I
What
have
is
my
your-
own company, and it's a company called Go Tairiku Partners. And Go Tairiku is a company that specializes in a variety of things. We specialize in a combination of mergers and acquisitions,
Mhm.
or just helping companies work out of difficult situations. Occasionally, it's helping companies that might want to leave Japan. They've had an operation here, it didn't work out. They've decided to leave. And so we've done a variety of different things with different companies.
Mm-hmm.
So one example, which was a while ago, was we helped Office Depot when they decided to shut down their operation in Japan.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, so how long has that company, how long have you had your own company?
Since 2004.
2004, okay. So,
Right.
so you're going on what, how many years would that make it? 16 years?
17 years now.
17 years
Yeah.
now. Wow. And you're doing, I mean, is it still very profitable for you
It's still fine. I have a variety of clients that I work with.
now? Mm-hmm.
I'm on a couple of boards as a non-executive director.
Right.
I'm on one as an executive director. And so it's quite fun, quite interesting.
And as a result of that, you have access to a lot of the Japanese companies.
That's
you're,
right.
you're meeting people all the time.
All the time.
Is
I mean,
that
that's the key to so much of the business is you have to have a wide variety of contacts because you're
Mhm.
never sure what the client is going to
Mhm.
require.
well? You know you're a member of the American Club, and you joined in
1995.
1995,
Mhm.
and you know the new club we just set up.
Mhm.
This new club we just set up that I was fortunate to be the president of when we did this one.
Hmm.
I'm just finding out, and I don't know why it's taking me so long, that you are the one that introduced us to the Nihon Bashi Club. We
That's
just
right.
made a satellite club to
Mhm.
this. How did that come about, and why haven't I heard about you yet?
Well, I don't know the reason for that, but the year was 2016,
Mhm.
and I was having drinks with a friend of mine from Mitsui Fudosan,
Mm-hmm.
and we were talking about a variety of things. This was over at the time at the Foreign Correspondents Club, and he said, we're really interested in reinventing Nihonbashi. We're interested in finding ways to attract different people,
right,
different
right.
groups, and all of that. Do you have some ideas? And I said, sure. Why don't we talk about it? So we had a nice dinner with several of their executives, and at the time I said, well, maybe you should consider something like an American club. And they said, that's an interesting idea. They came back to me about 6 months later and said, can you see if that would be of interest? I talked with Tony Kalla, and Tony said,
Who's
"Yeah,
our
we would
GM? Our
consider
GM
that."
here now, yeah.
That's right. He's the general manager of the club. And we were at a First Friday event. He said, yeah, we would definitely consider this. I then, over the course of time, brought them several times. I brought several of the people to the First Friday events, to lunches. We had a variety of people. Yamazaki-san, who's now the GM of the Nihonbashi Club. Brian Marcus, who was, I think, the assistant general manager at the time.
Right.
Tony, everybody was very involved in showing them what a real American club was all about.
Mhm.
Great hospitality, friendliness, getting a chance to see things, and they really liked that. And they said, okay. They put that forward to their board, and they decided to proceed with that.
Wow.
So we had several, it was a long period of discussions and all of
Mhm.
that, and we were working very closely with not only Tony, but also with Wayne Hunter,
Mhm.
who was also very involved in everything from the get-go. And, there were several periods where it looked like it might happen, where it looked like it might not happen. And today, it is
It's
happening.
there, yeah, because we just opened. When did we open? It was last month?
It was
Or is
opened March
this-
31st.
March 31st.
Right. They had a
Right.
ribbon-cutting ceremony, and that was a very nice,
It was a nice setup.
very
yeah.
nice,
I saw
very
that.
nice event, nice setup. It's a beautiful club. If you haven't
is.
been, please.
No, I'm
take
going
a
to go
look at it.
because actually a lot of our staff, I think 10% of our staff actually went over to the Nihon Bashi
I
Club.
think that's right.
They're
I think-
there, and we've shut down some of this club as a result of it. I
Hmm.
think that has to make the reason why we closed part of this club.
Hmm.
But not to get too much into the weeds or anything, but still,
Mhm.
I really let me personally thank you
Well,
for
thank you.
introducing us to that because I'm sure you will get, or if you haven't, get your due regards for it. But thank you so much on behalf of the club as a past president.
Well, thank you very much, Lance.
That's
I appreciate
really
that.
nice. And I haven't gone over there yet, but one of the staff over there, Antonio,
Yes. Who
he
used to
called
be
me.
our,
He
our
sure did.
manager at
Oh,
the,
he's
Child Breakdown. Yeah.
he's fantastic.
Mhm.
He called me up and said, "Mr. Lee, please come here so I can give you a tour."
Hmm.
That's how pleased he is with the place.
I think that's
He
that's
said,
great.
"Please come on over." And I said, "So I'm going to make sure I go over there. I should probably do it." I don't like to go on the weekends because that's when it's the most crowded, isn't
No,
it?
it's closed on the weekends.
Oh, it's closed.
Yes.
It's only Monday through
It's-
Friday.
It's Monday through Friday.
Okay,
And
that's
there
good to
are-
know.
No one under 20, I think, is allowed to go to the club.
That's not bad either.
Yeah, so it's only an adult club. It's got a big bar.
Do you know what time it opens?
I
In
would
the
guess 10 or 11 in the morning, probably.
Okay, maybe
Yeah.
earlier because since they have the gymnasium.
They might, yes, actually, they probably have breakfast. I don't actually know the hours.
Okay. And then all of us have to close earlier now because of this new
That's
because
right.
the new strain of Corona, COVID
yes,
4,
COVID,
the fourth
COVID concerns.
strain, right?
Yes.
COVID concerns. We have to do that. Wow, Rike, you've done a lot for the club. I mean, I really appreciate that. What do you enjoy most in your business, and then how do you use the club with your business? How do you?
Good questions.
Yeah.
Well, I love the pool at the club.
Use
Just
the
to,
pool?
I use the pool all the time. I'm there Saturday, Sunday. You can usually see me first thing in the morning.
Okay.
Restaurants are great. The staff is great. I mean, what I really like about the club is coming here and having many of the same staff members that were here when I first joined. So, Michio-san, who was voted the best sommelier in Tokyo at one stage a couple of years back. Kaide-san, who was in the, now in the little convenience store down in the basement. A lot of these people were there from the very, very
That's
beginning.
right.
And
That's right.
Yamazaki-san. I just like the fact
And our
that
parking staff.
Parking staff too.
Thomas is always there, and
That's
I forget his name, but he doesn't speak. You know who I'm talking about? The Japanese staff who's always there, and he'll wave you on.
Yes.
But he never says a word.
No. That's right.
The same.
But you have most of the staff they're great,
fantastic,
and they put their heart into what's going on, and that's
they remember your
what I think
name. They remember where you like to park if you have a certain place you can park sometimes, and they're really good.
I have a subscription to the Stars and Stripes, so I run down there
And
They
get
automatically
Akisato-san.
look at it. That's right.
Akisato-san's there.
She is great. Yeah.
That's right.
Mm.
Yeah,
and she's been there a very long time as well.
She has. She's been there as long as I've been a member. She's been there.
And you joined?
In 1988.
Yeah.
I joined in 88. But I actually came to the club since 77.
Okay.
Because I used to be staff here.
Really? Okay.
I was contract staff. I had my gymnastics program here. And I remember coming to the general manager at the time, and I knew most of the people here. When I became a member, the president of the club was one of my signers. That was Bob Collins. Yeah, he's up there, Bob Collins.
Oh, Bob Collins, yes.
The one who wrote
The Adventures of Max Danger.
Danger and Death at the Tokyo American Club.
Yes, I remember that, yes.
Yeah, that as well. So that's Bob
Murder at the
Collins.
Tokyo American
And then I had another president's son, Connor. Jim Connor, his son, he was the president way before then.
Okay.
And he was still alive when I became a member, but his son's the one, who are my age.
Okay.
And Mr. Connors used to come here in his Rolls Royce.
Oh.
He used to pull up in the very front, and they used to have a slot for the presidents. In the old club, it said for president and vice president. They had slots there for them.
Wow.
And they always had their parking spot. But yes, that's the club.
Those were the days.
Those were the days. But these are actually the days.
Yeah.
I like talking about the old times, but I mean, you can't think of any better time than now. We have toilets that spray you and have they're heated.
Yes.
Escalators. There were no escalators in the old club.
How many people have I talked to that left Japan and they said the thing that I miss the most is the nice toilets.
Can you believe that? And I'm surprised they don't. That should have sold worldwide. It should be all over the world because it's such a convenience. Everyone I think here has in their home. Yeah.
It's convenient. It's clean.
It's clean.
It's
Right.
everything you would
right.
want in that
That's
kind of
right.
a device.
Isn't that the truth? So tell me, what keeps you in Japan outside of your business? I know your wife is Japanese and you have a
my
beautiful
wife is
daughter.
Japanese. I've got a daughter who is 12. She's going to Yokohama International School, and that of course makes it happy. But what keeps you in a country? I mean, your friends. It's a good place to be. It's a nice place to be. It's clean. It's polite. It works well. And I've been here now this time around. 21 years? 26 years.
26 years.
Yeah.
Do you ever think you'll go back?
Well, I guess never say never, but I would guess that this probably is home.
It's home. Okay. Right, because you said your mother and father are still alive.
That's right. They're in Colorado. I have two brothers. One's in Colorado. One's in California.
Right, and you're very close with your brothers.
Very close to the brothers.
Right. And your younger brother, he's doing a different business altogether. He's not.
He works for one of the big IT companies in California.
Have you ever had them here?
Oh, they've been here many times.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Of course, your second brother.
My whole family's been here many times. So.
Next time they come, I'd like to meet them. Yeah.
Well, I think my mom and dad may not be traveling as much as they used to, but
it doesn't look like anyone's going to be doing that.
That's right.
Anytime soon.
Yeah.
Because my mother was here on her 91st birthday. She had her 91st birthday here, and believe it or not, we went bowling the very next day, and she beat me the first game.
Wow.
She's a bowler. She loves to bowl. She beat me the first game. I have it on video too. She's really good. So she turns 93 this year.
Wow.
And she's still driving. She has a big home all by herself in San Bernardino.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And,
She
and
loved
I'm
what
sure
she
she's ready to come over here and
Yeah.
hug her grandkids as soon as she can.
Well, grandkids are all adults now. They're so big. She has. I have other brothers and sisters, so
Okay.
she has all those kids there.
Mm.
She's happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, what else do you do around here? What are you working on right now that you could tell us about?
We have a number of different clients. One of them is Inks, which is a company that makes
Yeah.
energy harvesting devices. And they specialize in something that's clear solar, which is something where you could actually put a window on a building and you could actually generate power from that. And that's something that we've been working on here for a while. Very, very interesting technology. It's a startup, but it has funding from a number of very prominent institutions, including NTT, Sompo Japan. We also have money from Itochu.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something where you look at this kind of thing and you say, Japan has got wonderful technology. You know, that the country is full of interesting innovators and people who really want to make a difference in the world. And this is one of those companies.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm helping them. I'm one of their executive directors and helping them with their international.
Right.
I'm on the board of a company called Vantage Capital Markets, which is a inter-dealer broker. And they actually are a broker's broker, so they would deal between two professional groups,
Mm-hmm.
like a Merrill Lynch and a Morgan Stanley.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the board of Systems Go, which is a systems integrator, a systems service provider. And that's a good company. And you ask what I'm working on in terms of the other things.
Yes.
A lot of the M&A projects, I can't tell you.
Okay.
The ones that have been completed, you would know.
Tell me about them. Who are they?
So one of them was Office Depot.
Right.
One of them was a company called BIOS, which is one of Terry Lloyd's companies. We've done something with Ubisense, which is out of the UK. Mitsufudo-san and the Tokyo American Club.
Yeah.
So, and a number of other ones. I can't go into many of them because
Sure,
we're not
sure.
supposed to
Right,
divulge
right.
the
Into
details
the-
of it.
right.
But it's an interesting
Sure,
business.
like that. That is nice. And you've been doing that business, you said, for how many years now?
So that total now will be a total of, what is that, 17 years?
17 years.
17 years, yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
still going strong.
Still going strong.
Do you have a big staff, or do you keep your
We
staff
have,
pretty small?
there are 3 of us.
3 of you, okay.
Yep. And so we have 3 partners, basically, within the company.
Mhm.
And we'll work on various projects. We work on it with our US counterparts, our Singaporean counterparts, our UK counterparts. And we basically will work on a deal. It doesn't have to be a lot of it doesn't have to be a big team. It just has to be a good team.
That's
And
true.
so that's what we do.
I think we're all finding that out now. When you first came to Japan, I think it was the same. Well, it was really, really prominent when I first came here because we didn't have fax machines. But after that, the first thing you had to have on your name card, you had to have a fax machine.
Mm,
If you didn't have a fax machine number, you weren't a real businessman.
that's right.
The next thing was how many people in your company.
Right.
And if you said 10,
Mm,
you weren't a real company.
that's right.
You had to have in the 20s, 30s, 40s,
Mm.
100. Then they thought you were serious. And if you were YK, maybe, but you had to be a KK,
That's right. A KK.
Kabushi Kaisha. You had to be.
I
Yes.
remember my first business card. We had, being in the securities industry, we were very high tech, and we had a telex. And we also had the fax machine.
In the fax machine.
Yeah, so those were on my
Mm.
business card. That was fun.
I remember having to get my partners when I was in the scanner business. I had to send a fax machine from here to the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
just to get them to even try it. They kept on having me go over to get the telexes, to non-union. What is it called?
Oh, KDDI.
Not KDDI. I had to go over
Oh,
to
Western Union.
Western Union
Yeah.
to get the faxes that were read out to me. I mean, the telexes that read out to me. And I said, "You guys, will you please get a fax machine?"
Mm.
They couldn't understand the concept. How are you going to put on a piece of paper here and it comes out in the U.S.?
Mm.
We're not in Star Trek time yet. They just
Right.
could not get the idea.
I had
So
that
I
same-
sent that to them. And it started working, and they just could not believe it. They thought we were the biggest thing in the world.
Mm.
They could not believe that.
I had that same conversation with my family many times. How do you know what I sent to you?
Right.
It's already arrived. I've already read it.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
They couldn't believe that.
Mm.
You also are a history buff. What kind of
I do like history.
what kind of areas do you like to go into?
So I have always been a fan of old Japanese history. And when I look at old Japanese history, it's travel. People who first came to Japan, people who first were looking at things. So I've got an awful lot of old travel brochures from basically the 1900s until about 1960. And that's something that it's quite an interesting thing to look at. Not sure there's a lot of value in it, but it's interesting to see.
Okay.
I also collect old bonds. It's called script. So you think of like a Japanese government bond. It might be a City of Tokyo bond. when these organizations would borrow money, they would go to London, or they would go to France, or they would go to different countries to borrow money. And I collect the old bonds.
How do you get the old bond? Well, if you told me that, then other people do the same
Well,
thing.
no, that's fine.
How do
You get them. It could be anything from eBay to there are many auction
okay,
houses
okay.
in the UK that actually will sell them. They're not easy to find, but they're beautiful pieces when you find one.
What else? What other kind of hobbies? Do you have any other hobbies that you like or things
Well,
you do?
I mean, I focus on the family is of course a big one. Love to travel, but that's probably focusing on something that everybody likes to do.
But what areas do you like to go when you travel? In Japan, you mean?
Japan, I've been to hot springs.
Okay.
I've been to most of the major probably hot spring resorts in Japan,
Right.
and would do it all again if I had the
There
opportunity.
you go.
So I like to do that with my family.
Yeah.
We go to, or have gone to the States historically every year for to see the grandparents, to see the family, do different things.
Do you travel around a lot when you go to the States with your family, or do you basically keep that around Colorado?
We will go to Colorado, and then my wife and I might go to places like Washington, D.C. or
Right.
somewhere else. We've also gone to Los Angeles. We've gone to San Francisco.
Yeah, yeah,
A lot of fun places.
yeah. I guess there are a lot of places. When I was 18, I rode my motorcycle from LA to New York and back.
Wow.
23 states.
Mm-hmm.
Me and another guy. I had a 750 Honda, and he had a 500 Honda. We went all the way across. 2 rainstorms. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful trip. That was when I was 18 years old. So it was 1970.
Wow.
I went all the way across.
Wouldn't that have been an interesting trip?
It was.
Mm.
And in Japan, every summer I'd ride my bike around the islands, the 4 major islands.
Mm.
I haven't done Kyushu yet, but I've done Hokkaido a couple of times. I've done Honshu.
Mm.
I've done Shikoku. I divided Shikoku up into 2 and did it in 2 days. I did one half of it in one day, another half the next day. And I pick a central hotel to stay at. I use that as or I go to different hotels.
Mm.
Like in Hokkaido, I don't pick one hotel there. I pick hotels along the way.
That's great.
And I do that on my bike.
Just
And
to ride the Harley Davidson?
no, I don't ride a Harley. I ride it's an English bike. It's called a Triumph, Rocket 3.
Sure.
Rocket 3, but it's 2,300 cc's. It's bigger than some cars.
That's a special
So I
license.
ride that because
Mm.
I'm too young to be thinking that I'm going to bounce back real easy should something happen.
Mm.
So I want to have as much mass around me as possible.
I see.
So if anything happens, it won't just be me that it happens to. It has to happen to more than just one person.
Wow.
So I enjoy that.
That is great.
So how do you look for the companies that you're dealing with in your mergers and acquisitions?
Virtually all of what we do is word of mouth.
So you
we're
need
referred-
contacts.
Yeah. So when we actually meet people, we'll be referred to. So, for example, many of the clients that I've had over the course of time have recommended me to the next client,
Okay.
and so that's how most of our business has come about over time.
So you already have the credibility and everything because you've already done something once.
That's right.
Is that? Do you ask them to do that? I mean, do you? Because I used to be a salesperson, and I would always, after I finish, say, "Can you give me a list of 10 people that you know that are close friends and get that down?" Do you do something like that?
We don't do something quite like that, but we often will talk to people and we'll say, one, can we mention your name?
Oh,
And when we can mention their name, that's something that automatically is that same thing.
Because in Japan particularly, they're going to check, well, most places will, they'll check back to whoever you mention
Of course.
to see, and then that's automatic. You're good. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. So all of you, are all the people in your company men? I mean, the three of you partners, all men? Are they all foreigners?
No, all Japanese.
No, you're not
the other
Japanese.
2 are Japanese, yes.
Okay,
all of them,
right.
so.
But you could have changed yourself. You still
No,
have?
I'm American.
You, okay, American, yeah. Because I've known a couple of people recently, people are starting to change their nationality to Japanese.
Yes, they are.
And they have to give up whatever they have, because Japan only accepts the Japanese passport.
Right. No, I've got a few friends who've done that
Yeah,
as well.
so I've noticed that.
Yeah. More common than it might have been.
Yeah, I thought about it for a second.
Hmm.
I love America. It's hard for me. Even though I'm not crazy about wanting to live there
Hmm.
at this particular time, I love it. I
Yes.
love my country, but I can't do it.
Hmm.
It feels like
Hmm.
being adopted or something. I just
Right.
can't do that. No.
Exactly.
Yeah. So go on. You said you have some friends that have done that. That have
Friends who
actually
have done that, who have, I've not considered it myself either. I mean, I'm happy to be an American, proud to be an American.
Mm-hmm.
But being here in Japan and all of that, when you've been in your country as long as you have, as long as I have, most of your friends are likely to be here, and that's what makes life interesting.
And you'd have to start all over again.
That's right.
And first of all, there's not a whole lot of talking points because you wouldn't have watched the same things they've watched.
Mm.
You're not interested in the same sport. I mean, you might be, but it's just different.
Right.
being there. You won't know the colloquialisms the way they do, and it's just
That's right.
and it's hard. And we're at a certain stage in our life to where we're on the other side of that mountain.
Mm.
You know, we made it to the peak. We're sliding down, and we don't know if we're going to make it. We want to avoid as many bumps as possible
That's right.
to keep it smooth.
Well, and you go back to Colorado and love it, but it's absolutely it's hey, did you see the Broncos yesterday? And I got to admit, when I'm there, I like the Broncos.
That's true. But the thing here too, don't you think, when you're around, I think it's being an expat. I think we could go to another country,
Mm-hmm.
but we wouldn't fit in colloquially. We'd have to be with expats
Yes.
who are like us, because their experience, even though we're living here,
Mm.
the people we're around and the experience that they have open you up to so many different ideas and conversations, and
Mm.
you're experiencing life every single day because of the type of people we come in contact with.
That's right.
I've seen you for years and years and years. This is the first time we've gotten a chance to sit down together.
It is.
And I've learned so much. And I had you, looking like this a couple of times. Just like now when I told you I went across country on my motorcycle.
Yeah.
That's what I think we have here that the expats have access to, that unless you're an expat, it's hard to know what it's like.
That's right.
Because I think most people want to stay pretty... Change is hard.
Yes. And it's hard to make new friends, especially when you're at our age in life. And here in the American Club, for example, it's a wonderful place to make friends because, as you say, we're all strangers in a strange land. We're all foreigners here. We all have something in common. We've come
Right.
all the way here. We're working in Tokyo. We're enjoying things here. We might have a Japanese spouse. We might be working for a Japanese company. A lot of things in common. That's part of the reason why it's easier to make friends probably here than it would be in a place like Colorado.
Or any other domestic
other
place.
Yes.
Could you imagine yourself living in a rural place in Japan and just staying there?
No.
For that very reason.
For that very reason.
See, I don't mind having a home out there
Yeah.
to visit
Mm-hmm.
and knowing the neighbors there,
Right.
but to stay
Yeah.
would make me go,
Right.
no way.
Yeah. Same with me.
You speak, read, and write?
I speak Japanese. I can read. I can write some. I mean, typing is of course the norm nowadays.
Okay.
So I can do enough to to get around.
Tell me about
And a lot
that.
of the boards that I've been on have required that you speak Japanese or required that you actually can read some Japanese.
Is that what made you, is that what got you involved or interested in it? Being asked to get on a board and then you said, well, I better improve my Japanese?
Well, at the time when I was first put on the board, one of the first boards that I was put onto was the Osaka Securities Exchange, and so I was on their board, and that was when I got a chance to really begin to do a deep dive in learning Japanese and what was required for an awful lot of that.
So when you got on it, were you able to speak Japanese?
Yes, I could speak Japanese.
Okay, but
Then
you
there
did.
were an awful lot of documents that you had to read. You had to be able to understand.
You had to know the
what a
characters
lot
in
of
that,
it-
and also in that business.
That's right.
That's only unique to that business.
That's right.
Yeah. So you had to learn those words. Like when I was in the medical equipment business, I had to learn words that are unique to that only.
Yes.
So that's something.
That's it. It's an entirely different language.
Tell me.
And-
So how much studying did you have to do? How long in time?
Well, in college I studied Japanese for 3 years.
Okay.
And then when I joined Merrill Lynch, it was basically learning it on the job.
Mm-hmm.
And that was fine because, it was all in the securities industry. That was
Mhm.
the language that I was learning. And, I felt reasonably comfortable within about a year after that.
Mm-hmm. Have you found speaking Japanese, being on the boards has helped you, but does it help you in business as well?
Of course.
Being
Well,
a foreigner speaking in Japanese helps
It
you.
helps you. It helps you get in with certain people.
Okay.
In other cases, it actually is more convenient to speak English and have an interpreter. But
So-
for the most part, I think that, in the position that I'm in now, the people that I know actually trust me because I do speak Japanese.
Is
Even
that-
though they may want to speak English with me, they appreciate the fact that I would understand the nuances that they might be saying.
Okay. So tell me, when did you start seeing the differences? Like you said, sometimes you find it convenient. I mean, it's really helped you.
Mhm.
Sometimes you think you'd use an interpreter, even though you speak.
Mhm.
Well, tell me some situations that would.
A lot of times when you're working with people and you're in a certain situation, and especially with an M&A or something of this nature, you might find that it's more convenient to speak in English because people would respect the directness that you can actually have in English. Japanese sometimes is not quite as direct,
Okay.
and you could find.
But how would that be translated? If you're direct in English, you mean they're speaking to you in English as well?
They might be, or it might be going through an interpreter as well.
Okay,
Depends
okay.
on the situation.
But sometimes don't you find the interpreter will soften it and take it out of context?
That's where I can speak Japanese. So
I know.
will
So
not be able to correct
you correct them. You say, "Excuse me."
Right. Yes.
That's not what I said. I've done that several times.
That's right. It's an important
Okay.
thing to be able to do. You know, you can, and a lot of times I felt frustrated because the interpreter was not that good.
Right. They continually make it keigo.
Yes.
And you don't want it to be in keigo. That will not have the same effect. You cannot get the point across
That's
if
right.
they're using keigo.
That's right.
Yeah.
Big difference.
That's interesting.
Mm.
So do you find it 50-50? What do you find yourself speaking more, in Japanese or English?
Probably 50-50
In your business deals?
in the business sector.
Okay, what about daily?
Daily, it is probably 60-40. Japanese being the more dominant, because my family at home, we will speak in Japanese, but my wife speaks English, my daughter speaks English.
You
So
do
we'll
that,
speak both. Yeah.
but mostly you're speaking in Japanese.
Yeah. So our house language is Japanese, but I will always speak to my daughter in English.
Except for when you're having the group conversations.
That's right.
Okay.
But if I'm addressing her, I'll say it in English.
You've
So
always done
somebody
that? You've
was-
always done that?
Yes, from the very beginning.
Okay. And your wife has always kept it in Japanese to your
Yes.
daughter.
That's right.
That's very similar to us.
And it's probably worked very well for you.
That's the way we do it. Well,
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to have a friend. I taught two friends. They were both, the husband and wife were linguists, and they spoke 5 languages
Okay.
each. And they had a daughter named Claire,
Mhm.
and she was at the American school, and she wouldn't speak. Well, she actually didn't speak until she was about 6 or 7, and she went to Nishimachi,
Mm.
fluent in every language. And I asked them how that happened. They said, because every day we speak a different language, and it's always the same. It's on the parents' responsibility to stay. Monday was French. All Mondays were always French. Tuesdays were always German.
Wow.
Thursday, Wednesday would be always Japanese. Thursday would be English.
Mm.
So she was putting it together in her head, because when I talked to Claire when she was like 4 and 5,
Mm.
I said, "Eigo wakarimasu ka?" And she said, "Do you understand Japanese?" She goes, it didn't matter what I spoke. I said, "Habla español?
Mm.
Parlez-vous français?"
Wow.
She understood it, but she hadn't been able to articulate it yet or start to do it. And then, boom, it all came together and she spoke.
Wow.
And that's just how I remember taking it.
What an asset.
So he explained to me, he said, make sure that you speak to your child in the language you want them to learn.
Yeah.
Don't make it easy for you,
Mm.
no matter what they do.
Mm.
If today is the day, and for me it was always in English,
Yeah.
but they come say, "Papa, una cosita." And I say, "What?"
Mm.
And sometimes I pretend like I didn't understand what they were saying. I say, "What are you saying?
Mm.
What?" And they'd have to tell me they were hungry.
Right.
But most parents, I mean, the ones that if it's not effective, if they give in to make
Yeah.
it easier for the child.
Right. And I've had many friends who are
You see it.
American who speak to their children in
In both.
Japanese, and I think.
What are you
that's-
doing? Why are you doing that?
Yeah, I think it's a shame. I mean, you really want, if we have a multilingual family, that's going to be a benefit to everybody. Your child, in our case, it's she's American, she's Japanese. If she couldn't actually speak English and she couldn't speak Japanese, then she's losing out on probably the greatest gift that as a family we could give to her.
That's right. That's right.
Mm.
I found that so true.
Mm.
Well, our time's pretty good. I just had to look up to see.
Mm.
If people wanted to contact you,
Mhm.
we'll do that. If people wanted to contact you, how would they go about doing so?
Well, I'm here at the club on occasion. I'm happy
But not
to.
a lot of people going to see in this podcast may not be coming to this club.
Okay,
May not be
well,
here.
you
So,
could send me an email, which of course is always welcome,
all right.
and it's Rike at gotaidiku.com, which
Go
is
Taidi.
actually funny enough spelled like go to Rike. It's GOTAIRIKU.com.
Okay. Go to right. Go Taidiku.
Gotaidiku.com. Yes, which Gotaidiku actually means 5 continents.
Yeah.
So
Go Taidiku.
yeah,
That's nice.
that's my company. Yep.
Go Taidiku. That's
Yeah.
good. All right. Well, look, I'm going to make sure that a lot of people see this.
Okay.
I'm sure. I can't say that. I'm going to have to take that part out. I want to thank. I want to thank all of you for watching this podcast, and make sure that you click like and subscribe. And remember, I always say that don't forget that this is all on loan. So continue to reach for the stars.
Lance, I would like to say thank you very much for inviting me to your podcast, and I'm delighted to be here today.
Fantastic.
Great.